Between 1963 and 1966, Chrysler handed 203 ordinary Americans the keys to a jet engine car. 3 months at a time, families drove it to work, to church, to the grocery store, a turbine coupe that ran on gasoline, diesel, kerosene, or jet fuel, parked in a suburban driveway. 50 were built. When the program ended, Chrysler destroyed 46 of them. Why is more complicated than you've been told? The selected households became active participants in a vast, distributed engineering study. Instead of temporary exhibition drives under factory supervision, these drivers took custody of the vehicles for a period of real-world integration. They carried out routine errands, commuted to local offices, and parked the metallic bronze coupes in typical suburban garages. Every mile traveled required meticulous documentation. Drivers logged cold starts, recorded fuel purchases, and detailed how the unconventional machine integrated into the patterns of mid-century American life. It was a rigorous assessment of whether an average motorist, accustomed to conventional V8 engines, could seamlessly coexist with a jet-age power plant on a daily basis. To transition from laboratory experiments to a standardized fleet, Chrysler built 55 turbine cars. Carrying a 1963 model identity, the production run spanned from late 1962 through October 1964, dividing the vehicles into 5 engineering prototypes and 50 public evaluation cars. Styling chief Elwood Engel led the design, creating a clean, finless silhouette to maintain absolute consistency across the fleet. Every car wore identical turbine bronze metallic paint paired with a black vinyl top. The manufacturing process split duties across the Atlantic. Carrozzeria Ghia hand-built the bodies in Turin, Italy, before shipping them to Detroit, where Chrysler final assembly teams installed the A831 gas turbine and the Chrysler drivetrain. This physical standardization extended to the smallest details, with all cars using the same ignition key. By deploying an identical fleet rather than a series of custom testbeds, Chrysler prepared a highly controlled instrument for its upcoming nationwide evaluation. Between October 1963 and January 1966, the 50 evaluation vehicles traversed the United States, expanding from a localized Detroit project into a massive national study. Chrysler systematically distributed the fleet to 203 ordinary drivers residing in 133 cities across 48 states. These participants represented a broad cross-section of the public, operating the coupes under vastly different climatic conditions and geographical terrains. By the time the final driver returned the keys, the collective test group had logged over 1 million miles. This immense volume of real-world data established the program as a serious engineering trial instead of a temporary promotional exercise. The sheer geographic diversity and accumulated mileage provided Chrysler's technical teams with an unfiltered, highly objective record of turbine durability under real-world stress. Every mile contributed directly to a database that would decide the commercial viability of gas turbine passenger cars. Inside the engine bay, the 4th generation A831 gas turbine mixed compressed air with fuel, igniting a continuous combustion process that produced direct rotary power for the drivetrain. This design bypassed the octane requirements of traditional piston engines, allowing the turbine to run on nearly any combustible liquid, from regular gasoline, diesel, and kerosene, to JP4 jet fuel. Chrysler proved this capability in controlled demonstrations, fueling the car with tequila, Chanel No. 5 perfume, peanut oil, and whiskey. While these exotic fuels remained promotional showcases, standard pump fuels were the intended choice for daily operation, bringing this radical adaptability to the boundary of ordinary road use. Operating the turbine car began with the driver's handbook and its strict 8-step starting sequence. A motorist had to turn the key to engage the starter generator, then wait as the system spun the gasifier turbine up to its starting speed before fuel could be safely introduced. Once ignited, the engine required a brief period to stabilize, with drivers keeping a constant eye on the exhaust temperature gauge to prevent a catastrophic overheat. On the road, the fourth-generation A831 engine delivered a modest 130 horsepower, balanced by 425 pound-feet of torque at stall. Period tests recorded a 0 to 60 acceleration time of roughly 12 seconds and a top speed of 120 miles per hour. While the turbine operated with an exceptionally smooth low-vibration hum, drivers noted a pronounced delay when pressing the accelerator. This response lag, caused by turbine inertia as the compressor spooled up, made the car's real-world acceleration feel underwhelming next to the responsive V8 engines of the era. The everyday driving experience quickly revealed the turbine's inherent efficiency limitations under low loads. Because the A831 had to maintain a high idle speed to remain operational, it consumed fuel continuously even at a standstill, resulting in period fuel economy figures of just 13 to 14 miles per gallon. This stood in sharp contrast to a later 1974 EPA test, which recorded only 6.5 miles per gallon at a steady cruise. Emissions also presented an obstacle. Although Chrysler asserted that nitrogen oxide outputs were negligible, the high combustion temperatures raised serious concerns as environmental regulations began to tighten. Finally, the financial math was insurmountable. Each car cost approximately $55,000 to construct in 1963. While the simplified engine offered remarkable reliability and low maintenance, these mechanical advantages could not justify a production expense that placed the vehicle far beyond the reach of the American middle class. In January 1966, the public evaluation program came to a close. Chrysler methodically reclaimed the 50 bronze coupes from their temporary households, recovering the ignition keys from the families who had grown accustomed to their jet-like hum. In April, the company formally announced the fleet's retirement. Then came the physical liquidation of the project. Rather than storing the experimental fleet or allowing the vehicles to enter the used car market, Chrysler ordered their systematic destruction. Out of 55 total vehicles built, 46 were destroyed. 45 of these handmade machines were delivered to a scrapyard south of Detroit, crushed and set on fire to ensure the turbine components could never be used again. The last of the 46 was demolished at the Chelsea Proving Grounds. The mass demolition did not stem from engine failure. Chrysler executives made a calculated administrative decision to dismantle the program. The company chose to erase the physical evidence of its grandest experiment to manage legal liability and protect its proprietary technology. The popular narrative surrounding the program's end points to a single financial explanation: import tariffs. In this widely repeated story, Chrysler destroyed the cars to escape high customs duties on the Italian-crafted Ghia bodies. However, this explanation remains unverified. No internal correspondence or customs classification documents confirm that tax avoidance drove the decision. By 1966, the tariff on each body had depreciated to under $500, a minor sum compared to the millions spent on development. Chrysler also paid the required fees on the units they preserved, showing that import taxes were not the deciding factor. Instead, senior management acted on overlapping legal, technical, and commercial concerns. The fleet consisted of experimental, hand-assembled vehicles. Allowing them to enter the secondary market or remain on public roads posed severe legal liability. The specialized turbines required support that conventional dealership service departments could not offer. Only factory engineering teams knew how to service the high-speed rotors, and no nationwide service infrastructure existed. There were no retail parts networks, specialized diagnostic tools, or trained field technicians to support private owners. Protecting proprietary technology was another primary driver. The gas turbine engine represented decades of research, and letting these power plants fall into private hands created a substantial risk of reverse engineering by competitors. The company reclaimed the fleet as part of a planned retirement. This action was decided from the program's inception, independent of whether turbine passenger cars would ever see mass production. The test chassis were built to validate a specific engine design and were functionally obsolete for future research. Management viewed the bronze coupes strictly as temporary research platforms, and once the data was gathered, their operational purpose was complete. 9 Chrysler Turbine cars escaped the scrapyards. Today, these remaining vehicles serve as the sole physical archive of Chrysler's jet age experiment, each one still finished in the uniform turbine bronze paint with a black vinyl top. 5 of these survivors are reportedly operational, preserved across a small network of museums and private collections. While these physical specimens preserve the exact engineering layout of the A831 engine, the destruction of the other 46 cars created permanent historical gaps. Without the rest of the fleet, researchers cannot study how the turbines handled long-term wear across different climates, or how individual driving habits affected the exotic power plants over several years. The preserved fleet offers a rare look at what was, while leaving the true depth of the public test forever lost. Today, as the automotive industry navigates its next great propulsion shift, those 9 surviving bronze coupes stand as silent monuments to a lost future. They remind us that true innovation requires more than genius. It demands permanence. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.